Hey guys, Drew here. I wanted to make a little video about how to, or really just some different ways that you can prune Tithonia diversifolia in your food forest system or garden or whatever you're doing. If you're growing Tithonia, it's good information just to know some of the ways that you can keep them pruned. So a lot of the Tithonia that I have, I'm pruning them in a way that's helping to provide shade. So if that's something that you're trying to achieve, it's something that you can really do really easily with Tithonia diversifolia. So Tithonia grows in a shrub-like way, sends up lots of stems, and grows extremely tall and will just keep growing. But if you pick one or two or three stems and especially here in Florida, every maybe 2 weeks, you take all of the horizontal growth out of the stems, like this right here, and you take all of that off, and you go all along the stem and do that, and then down from the base it'll continuously want to shoot off, especially if it had been a shrub before. But all of this you can harvest, make your own fertilizer, feed to your rabbits or goats, use as mulch, etc. Put that there for right now next to that little pigeon pea. And so if you do that continuously, you can maintain this structure of one or two main stems. They'll get quite woody, and then you'll let it fork out at the top. And what you can do continuously is you can harvest some of this, but by pinching the tops, the very tops, it'll encourage the Tithonia to branch out like an umbrella, and that'll really help, as you can see, provide some shade. And so it's a really simple process. If you want to prune Tithonia to be like a tree to provide shade, choose a couple of stems that you want, take off all the horizontal growth in between where you're wanting the tree to kind of umbrella out, or the shrub to umbrella out, and the base. And over time, all of this down here will weaken. As you can see, it's starting to die off, and you'll be left with the main stems. It's just something you have to do continuously, but that is if you just want to prune Tithonia in a tree-like shape. And you can see that's what I'm mainly doing here, because I'm wanting to provide a little bit of shade in our really hot summers here in Florida. An example with this Tithonia here, see how there's many stems. I'm leaving this for propagation material. That's why I left a whole bunch of stems. But you could choose just one or two and do like what I said back there. But you can also, let's see, I want to show what Tithonia looks like if you just allow it to grow by itself. So this Tithonia over here, I've let, for the most part, kind of do what it wants to help shade out this area. I will harvest the shoots from the lower here to just for propagation material. But yeah, this is kind of what Tithonia looks like when you leave it be, allow it to grow in the way that it naturally does. This is some of the younger stuff here. But you could also, if you'd like, completely chop this to the ground and use all of that as biomass, mulch, fertilizer, feed, etc. You can really do what you'd like with Tithonia. It's extremely resilient and can be pruned pretty aggressively, pretty often. That's what makes it so useful. Here's an example of one that I just let the single stem stay and then allow it to branch up top to provide some shade. Here's some of the younger plants that I propagated, so they're still real small, as you can see. And I've planted those pretty close together to make a very large hedge and to just help create a little bit of a microclimate, and as well as provide a lot of biomass material. But here's another example that I need to take off all of the horizontal growth like this. Feed that to the mulberry, and as well as this down here. And it's actually a good way to continuously be able to harvest biomass and mulch material from one plant of Tithonia, but also provide the shade and the microclimate, etc. And my best example of providing shade with Tithonia is this here. As you can tell, it gets pretty tall. It can get actually much taller. I've left quite a few stems, as you can see, mostly because I'm wanting to create more of a privacy effect, which, as you can tell, it does create some privacy, but the amount of shade that it produces here is so beneficial, and especially just for the farmer, gardener like myself that is constantly out in the sun. You know, this gives me a nice little place where I can take a break or whatever. But it also provides, like, for example, for these bananas, the bananas love the full sun, which is great, but to create a to keep the soil beneath moist and to keep water there, by providing a little bit of shade, it really helps to encourage that, because as you can see here, the ground here is extremely hard and there's not much moisture there at all because it's getting baked by the sun. But anywhere that you have shade, you have significant amounts of water that stays there. Here's a good example. There's lots of microbial life, building lots of good soil here. There's a lot of water retention there as well. And finally, to see the kind of beginning stages of what I've achieved here, I'm also trying to achieve with this hedge right here. It's just much younger. But yeah, I just wanted to provide that insight with Tithonia diversifolia and how you can prune it to create shade and to just help you do whatever you're trying to do. It's such a wonderful plant to use, and it gets hated on a lot by those that aren't interested in managing a productive system. You know, if you're growing Tithonia as an ornamental, which, you know, I don't have a problem with that, but it can, if left alone and not managed at all, what'll happen is these stems sometimes can get weighted and will fall over, and that's the main way that they can kind of take over an area. But you won't find that I've tried multiple times now to plant the seeds from Tithonia diversifolia, and they don't propagate very well at all. So it's kind of a misnomer when people claim that it's extremely invasive, because I have not seen that myself. But if you're growing plants, you should be managing them anyways, so it shouldn't ever really be a problem. It's only a problem for people that maybe plant it on their properties and then move or something like that. Then I can understand. But yeah, Tithonia diversifolia and the ways that it can help you achieve what you're doing in your food forest, garden, etc. Peace.